Good evening. Tonight's top stories from around Yorkshire.
Red faces for those in charge of bringing the high-speed train link to Yorkshire. Residents in one of Yorkshire's most prestigious addresses are mistakenly told their homes could be at risk when the new line is built.
It's almost bully boy tactics, and it's almost intimidating to receive a letter like that.
In a project of this size, mistakes shouldn't happen, but I'm afraid they do, and we do our best to try and eliminate them as we go forward.
We also hear from villagers along the route who claim they've been left in the dark about plans for a viaduct near their homes.
Good evening. Bosses at the HS2 rail link have apologised to hundreds of residents after they were sent letters warning them they could be forced out of their homes in an iconic Yorkshire building. Now, they were told Bridgewater Place in Leeds was on the route of the fast rail link between London and Yorkshire, but today it emerged the letters had been sent by mistake.
Meanwhile, in Woodlesford, outside Leeds, villagers along the proposed route say they've been left in the dark about the plan to build a 40-foot viaduct right on their doorstep. We'll hear from one of the HS2's directors in a moment, but first Len Tingle reports from Leeds.
With 32 storeys, it's Yorkshire's tallest building and the most expensive. Opened just 6 years ago at a cost of £45 million. Flats at Bridgewater Place in Leeds came with price tags of up to £400,000. Prices set to soar when it became known that the new station for the planned high-speed rail link to London would be built just across the road. Then, 4 weeks ago, owners like Dave Matthews received a letter signed by the Transport Minister. It said, "Your land and any buildings on it are on the initial preferred route and therefore classified as at risk of being required for construction of the line."
Just the fact that a letter has gone out has made the property unsaleable. That does affect me. Although it's tenanted at the moment and the rent roll is very nice, come the day that you need to sell or the tenant wants to make an offer, and straight away this letter will flag up that it is in a potential zone to be flattened.
When we contacted the developers of the high-speed rail route, they admitted it's all been an embarrassing mistake. There are indeed properties along the route that are in danger of compulsory purchase and maybe even demolition. But Bridgewater Place here isn't one of them. They've sent letters, they say, to all 250 tenants, apologising and explaining. Have you had a letter?
No. The only letter that I've received was this initial one, which in fact is quite frightening.
According to government officials, that explanatory letter is in the post. Len Tingle, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Well, just a few miles away on the outskirts of Leeds, and residents in the village of Woodlesford say they're furious about plans to build a viaduct to carry the high-speed train.
Their local MP, Alex Shelbrooke, is meeting the Transport Secretary tomorrow. He's calling for the line to be rerouted. Here's Kathy Killick.
It's part of the Trans-Pennine Trail and Leeds Country Way, much loved by residents of Woodlesford. But this slice of tranquility will be obliterated by the planned HS2 route. The track will run on a huge viaduct at least 46 feet high and nearly a mile long. Here's an impression of what it'll look like crossing the valley. In some places it'll be less than 100 yards from houses, like this one in Yew Tree Drive. Residents have already set up an opposition committee. The viaduct will tower over their back gardens.
I feel upset. I feel really upset. You know, in spring we have ducks down here, we have moorhens. I'm going to go from that to I might as well be living in Spaghetti Junction in Birmingham or somewhere. It's just going to change completely.
We contacted HS2 direct the day after the announcement was made. They made a promise that they would answer our questions. We've been repeatedly emailing them, asking for an update, and over a month later we've had nothing.
HS2 is predicted to bring much-needed economic growth to Yorkshire, and Woodlesford's Conservative MP supports it, but will meet the Transport Secretary tomorrow to ask for a route diversion for his constituents.
Although we want to see the economic benefits for the city, we must also make sure that homeowners get proper mitigation, and we try and do as much as we can to limit the blight on them. As it stands at the moment, the plan is unacceptable for those houses where this junction is.
Property blight has already knocked around £50,000 off the value of these houses, and it's by no means clear if the residents will get compensation. In the meantime, they're trapped in houses that will prove very difficult to sell. HS2 won't be built for another 30 years, but it's changed life here overnight. Cathy Killick, BBC Look North, Woodlesford.
Well, Clinton Leaks is from the HS2 project. I asked him, first of all, how the confusion had arisen that the skyscraper Bridgewater Place could be flattened.
It's a confusion we regret, and in the letters we've sent out, I think yesterday, we've apologised to, I think it's about 250 recipients of the original letter. As you can imagine, in late January, for the whole route, we were sending out thousands and thousands of letters, and we very much regret, in these 250 cases, including the people in the Bridgewater Place building, we shouldn't have sent those letters, so we've sent out another letter clarifying it. As I said, it's regrettable. In a project to this size, mistakes shouldn't happen, but I'm afraid they do, and we do our best to try and eliminate them as we go forward.
So let me clarify this. Does that mean that Bridgewater Place is not under threat, will not be compulsory purchased?
The position at the moment is that ministers have announced their initially preferred route. That's the terminology we use, because it'll go out to consultation later this year. So the route isn't finally set, the route that will eventually go to Parliament, but certainly at the moment Bridgewater Place is not on the route that is initially preferred by ministers.
Let's move on then to those who will be affected. And we've seen meetings in Woodlesford. Now, the residents there say that the property prices, that they've been cut by £50,000 overnight. They are furious.
When we announce a scheme of this size, we do understand that these things create concern for people. We have sympathy with that, and obviously we're available to answer their questions whenever they've got them.
Well, you say you're available to answer the questions, but most of the anger has been directed at the fact that you're not contacting them. They've been emailing you every day, they've been calling the numbers that they've been given. So far, nothing.
Well, you'd have to give me specifics on that. We have a help desk with a large team. It's our obligation to try and help people who are concerned. We have a help desk that's open 5 days a week. I myself check the statistics on the emails and the phone calls we receive, and I assure you and all your viewers, we really do understand that it's important that people get information.
OK, can I interrupt you because you asked for specifics?
Yes.
The specifics come from Woodlesford,
right.
A campaign group there who say, despite their calls and emails, they are not getting through to you.
Well, again, I can go back and check what, if any, calls we've had from a specific group, and that we'd need to know the name. But yes, of course we'll respond to these people. We won't respond instantaneously because we have to respond accurately. But the commitment is to do so as fast as practicable, and people deserve replies. That's our job. This is a huge scheme that will produce great benefits for Yorkshire, for the north, and indeed for the south of this country. But in the meantime, people need to have access to accurate information. That's crucial.